I will not tolerate such behaviour.
Today, something happened that has rattled the entire political system of the United Kingdom. A moment nobody expected, yet one that has flipped the government upside down. The Supreme Court has issued a ruling so severe, so direct, that it has put Keir Starmer's political future on the very edge of collapse. Westminster is in a full-blown crisis. What began as a quiet constitutional question has exploded into a national emergency. The Prime Minister, once celebrated as Labour's comeback figure, is now at the centre of a storm that seems to grow darker by the hour. Allegations of overreach, secretive decision-making, and outright violations of constitutional limits have finally left the shadows. They are now on the record, backed by the nation's highest court. Parliament has almost frozen. Downing Street is locked down. Senior ministers are refusing to answer questions. Reporters are gathering outside Number 10 as crowds grow in anger. Inside Buckingham Palace, aides are quietly meeting behind closed doors, their faces tight, their tone careful. The monarchy isn't speaking publicly. But everyone can sense it. The palace is watching closely because the country is drifting into uncharted territory. The shock isn't just that the Supreme Court ruled against the Prime Minister. It's what forced them to intervene. It all started with one executive order. One document. One signature. Starmer pushed through a measure that he insisted was minor, routine, nothing to worry about. He bypassed a parliamentary vote, ignored standard procedure, and dismissed internal questions from civil servants. What the public didn't know is that government lawyers had already warned him. They told him the order might break long-standing constitutional principles. They cautioned him that he was stepping into dangerous territory. But those warnings were rejected. Instead of slowing down, he sped up. He closed the circle around him, pulling in only his closest strategists, people who don't answer to the public, people who report only to him. He pressed ahead with a plan that critics say placed the Prime Minister above parliamentary authority. A plan that many now describe as an attempt to stretch executive power further than any leader in recent decades. And then the leak happened. A protected whistleblower, someone inside the legal team, released a confidential memo to a journalist. A memo that revealed something explosive. The Prime Minister knew the action might be unlawful. Not only that, but the memo showed that senior aides tried to suppress the legal warnings instead of addressing them. Within hours of the leak, everything changed. The Supreme Court held an emergency session. And when the ruling finally arrived, it landed like a political earthquake. The court declared the Prime Minister's action unlawful, unconstitutional, and beyond the authority of his office. The judgment wasn't split or divided. Every single judge agreed. It was a unanimous rebuke. The ground beneath Starmer's leadership cracked instantly. Politicians scrambled for cover. MPs who once defended him started distancing themselves. The Defense Secretary issued a late-night statement accusing the Prime Minister of betraying public trust. The Home Secretary resigned outright. Several cabinet ministers disappeared from public view. Even Labour MPs who have stood by Starmer through every controversy whispered the same message: his time is up. But the ruling did more than damage his credibility. It exposed something deeper, a pattern of hidden decision-making, silencing of internal critics, and a gradual tightening of power that many never noticed until now. It revealed a Prime Minister who, instead of operating within the limits of the Constitution, drifted dangerously close to crossing them. And now the country faces a terrifying question. If the Supreme Court says the Prime Minister acted outside the law, then who is actually running the government at this moment? The Constitution doesn't clearly spell out the answer. The monarch's role is supposed to stay neutral. Parliament hasn't appointed a replacement. The cabinet is splintering. The civil service doesn't know whose instructions to follow. Britain has found itself staring into a constitutional vacuum, a moment where leadership is uncertain, where authority is disputed, where the future is foggy. But what happened next made the crisis even worse. In the hours after the Supreme Court ruling, the Prime Minister didn't admit fault. He didn't step back. He didn't acknowledge the court's authority. Instead, according to insiders, he took a step no modern leader has taken. He called Buckingham Palace directly. The conversation, as described by several sources, was brief but deeply unsettling. Starmer reportedly told the king that the court's ruling was politically motivated, influenced by his opponents, and fundamentally wrong. He claimed the judiciary was attacking the government and implied that he still held the mandate of the people. He questioned the court's supremacy. He tried to reframe the ruling as a threat to national stability. And he suggested that he would continue to act as prime minister regardless of the judgment. For the king, this was a line no leader should cross. According to a senior palace insider, the king ended the call with a measured but chilling statement. The crown must remain neutral, prime minister, but the constitution will protect itself. And that is where Britain stands tonight. A leader stripped of authority. A court unwilling to bend. A palace watching from the shadows. And a country asking the same question. What happens next? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel for more in-depth political commentary, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next deep dive into the world of power and politics. Thanks for watching.